thorn between two roses.
Wow.
They're going to cue me when they're ready to
Okay.
start.
Hey, Coach.
Give it 1 minute. Just a little bit about the format today. We'll start with an opening statement from Coach, and then we'll take questions for the student athletes for 15 minutes, and that we will dismiss them, and then we'll take 15 minutes with Coach. And we do have some people here in the remote environment, so we'll take questions from them at the end.
They're missing out on the sunshine then.
Yeah.
That's their loss.
Okay, we'll get started. Coach, if you want to give us an opening statement.
Yeah, well, it's always a great event to be at. You know, I think I've been in this tournament a variety of times, and it just never gets old. You know, this is, I think, the premier event in athletics, and it's in part because of how earned it is. And I could not be prouder to have the group of people I have with me, both in terms of the entire team and then the two sitting to my right, in terms of what they've meant to this program all year long. You know, Carly, your grit is a huge piece of who we are, and Deja, your consistency has really helped us all year long. So these are two kids that are a treat to coach, and they're important to what we do, and they're surrounded by a group of people that are a connected bunch. And so we think it's an earned opportunity, and I know my guys are eager to get it underway.
Thank you, Coach. And when you have a question, just raise your hand and give your name and affiliation. We'll start now with questions for our student athletes. Right there.
Good morning. Ann Schatz with ESPN. Some issues getting here. Can you help all of us understand how much you love adrenaline and how a quick nap makes everything okay? But seriously, it was tough getting here. Describe the journey, and if you've got your sea legs underneath you, both of you, please.
Well, it was a pretty long journey getting here. It was fine. You know, we got some food. We were kind of just chilling at the airport, just waiting to leave. But I think we got our legs back a little bit. What do you think, Car?
Yeah, I honestly think it probably helped us adjust the time change a little faster because we were exhausted when we got here. So it really helped me fall asleep. So, and I mean, nothing wakes you up quite like the Arizona sun. So that also helped, I think.
And just the feeling of being here but not settling. Understanding there's work to be done, understanding how special this is, and yet there's work to be done. If you both could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's really special being here. We're all really excited. This is a great opportunity for us, but not worrying about any of the other stuff that's going on. You know, we're just worried about getting on the court, getting our shots up, just mentally preparing and locking in for what we got to do tomorrow.
Yeah, I just think it's a blessing to be playing basketball in March. So it's something we don't take lightly. And I've been lucky enough to this is my third NCAA tournament now, and I haven't made it out of the first round. And so I'm definitely coming in here hungry and trying to pass that hungriness along to the team.
Next question.
Javier Morales, All Sports Tucson. Carly, your father is an Arizona graduate, so is he a U of A fan, or how was that growing up with him being a U of A graduate?
Yeah, as a kid, I've actually been to a lot of Arizona football games. I was born in Arizona, but I think I know where his loyalty lies for this weekend. But he has been a Wildcat fan, but not this weekend.
Does he still live in Iowa?
Yeah, my family's in Iowa still, but I do have a bunch of relatives who live in Arizona who will be able to make the game.
Any thought about coming here?
Hi, PJ Brown from the Arizona Daily Star. This is for Deja. You know, I noticed this week that you signed another NIL deal with Dre Beats, and I was just wondering, how have you sort of separated the business side to your basketball all season, and especially now going into the most important time of the year?
Yeah, from start when the NIL thing came out, I knew that basketball was always going to come first. You know, this was just something on the side, something extra, and I was never going to let it intertwine, and my agency has done a really good job of helping me not let it distract me at all. And I think just me focusing on what I got to do every day on the court, it hasn't really affected me at all. So, yeah.
Next question.
Carly, I want to get this right. Waukee,
Waukee, correct.
darn right. Okay.
I'm impressed.
Sometimes do you have to help folks appreciate how great the basketball and softball and athletics, how great that component is in the state of Iowa, when sometimes you might be overlooked just a little bit? And what's the enrollment of your school? What was your class size?
So my graduating class size was about 540.
Well, that's bigger than I
So
thought.
I was in the biggest
geez.
class of Iowa. I didn't ride a tractor to school, none of that. But I do kind of make it known. Like, I think that's where my grit comes from, like what Coach said, that blue-collar Midwestern. So I do have to make it known that, Iowa's where it's at. So I'm not sure my teammates believe me, and
It's debatable.
you can kind of see her. She doesn't believe me either, but I'll always stand by Iowa's where it's at.
Well, my recruiting trip, the first time I recruited Carly,
Oh, boy.
her dad sent me all these kind of options to go to while I was waiting for the game. It was negative degrees, so not even 0. So I went directly to the hotel. I stayed in the car until I was like as close to the door as possible, and then ran in. So Iowa was not where it was at in that moment.
But it was worth it.
But it's brought us together, so it's on my will visit again maybe list.
Do you find that, is there a chip on the shoulder in terms of you having to prove yourself, or is it more just, I'll quietly help you understand what I'm all about?
I think it's a little bit of both for sure. It kind of depends on the day too. Like, sometimes I'll have a chip if I feel like a chip is needed, but otherwise I kind of like to just go about quietly and kind of show them with actions.
What would be the chip that's needed? Give us an example.
Example.
Yeah.
Chip that's needed.
Something that's really made you cranky.
We're not quiet, remember?
Yeah. I guess just hearing Iowa, just like Iowa disrespect, or I'm hearing like our team is young. I wouldn't say that's disrespect, but just hearing doubt, I think, is when it's needed. And so kind of bringing everybody along, being like, no, like, we're here for a reason. We're full of hard workers. And so I think that's the time when it's needed.
Did the pig wrestling help your reputation, or did folks just think, oh my God, what a hayseed?
Also a little bit of both, but I
Okay.
think I always tell people it definitely helped my defense, because think about the footwork required to stay after a pig. You got to be diving on the floor for that pig. I think there's a lot of similarities and crossover between the two.
Who won that battle?
So my team didn't win that competition, but I think we got the best of the pig.
I don't know what to make of that, Carly.
I'd love to try again now that I'm older and wiser.
I can't.
Any basketball questions?
Sure. What becomes critical in this round one, as you have a short turnaround for scouting? What becomes critical in what you've seen on film, on tape, and then getting to practice and work on your things, but also work on what they do so well, because here it comes. Both of you, Asia?
I think us just staying locked into what we do best, what we've done best all year. I think just staying focused on that is really important, because, like you said, it's a real short turnaround. But I think the more we focus on us, I think that will be beneficial.
Yeah, I would kind of echo that and just say taking one possession at a time, staying in the moment, staying locked in. If we mess up one possession, not let that lead to 2 or 3 possessions. And just cherishing every moment that goes along with that, like not thinking, oh, this moment's too big, not taking it too lightly, just cherishing every single second we have on the floor.
Can you guys talk about having the same starting lineup the whole season? That's a rarity. What's that like for you guys?
I would say just, it's the same 5 that we've just built that chemistry, and it's the whole team. Like, it's all 14 of us. But I think just that first 5, Coach Banghart obviously did a good job of picking the first 5 to throw the first punch. And I think we've been pretty consistent with that all season. So I switch it up. And then obviously having Eva, she's like our also a starter basically. So yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's let us get some nice consistency and kind of helped us all find our roles quickly, because you kind of know what's expected of you in the first 5 minutes, what's expected of you when you come in off the bench, and I just think the consistency is a big factor.
Go ahead, back there.
So from stats, you guys are pretty balanced scoring-wise. Is that by design, or just, is that a point of emphasis for you?
Am I allowed to answer yet?
Who's the question?
Coach, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, okay. You know, I'm one of those kind of old school coaches that I don't care who scores as long as we score, right? And so I think anytime you focus on yourself in a team game that requires so much back and forth, and the beauty of basketball, there's not, I think it's the only really true two-way sport where you're not offense, you're defense, you're kind of equal all the time, and 1 of 5. So you're impacting the game, you know, all the time. So if you obsess on any one part of it, it actually plays to your detriment. And I think with inexperienced teams, there's been times we've talked about that with Deja, that she's such an elite scorer that sometimes if she just focuses on that, it messes up with all the other things that she can do to help our team win, right? So, you know, I think the versatility that we have in our roster is really helpful, because as a coach and as a team, I think we go in knowing that we don't need anyone to be Hercules. We don't need anybody to be Superwoman, right? We need to be able to stay connected. And as the game comes, if we need you to facilitate, we need you to score, we need to get stops, like, we've got to be able to adjust to the ebb and flow of the game. So I don't think it's to answer your question, I don't think it's schematic. It's recruit really good players and put them in a position to win basketball games. And we'll read the game as it goes.
Any other questions for those in the room? If not, we will go to our virtual environment, and I know we have one question from R.L. Bynum from the Tar Heel Tribune. R.L.?
Good morning. This is for both Deja and Carly. CDF Austin brings a lot of pressure defense, and you guys have dealt with that fairly well most of the season. Why have you been so successful against pressure like that, and what are the particular challenges that they'll give you on Saturday?
I think pretty much all season it's just about being poised, you know, not letting anybody who's pressured us speed us up. Even though we like to play fast, I think that once we break the pressure pretty well, we execute pretty well after the fact. So I don't think it'll be any different. Come tomorrow, we're going to stay poised. You know, me and Carly, we have the ball in our hands a lot. I think just us, you know, working together to break that pressure, and then just getting us into our stuff afterwards, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I think like Deja said, pressure's about not letting it get you too sped up, but also not letting it slow you down in the half court. So just continuing to be in that attack mindset. And I think we've been good at that all year, just because we trust each other a lot, and you have to break a press like 5 against 5. And so I think we've done a good job of finding out ways we can be most helpful to each other over the full court.
So do you guys look at this as an opportunity to make them pay for that kind of strategy?
I would say so. I would say so. You know, we like pressure. I personally like pressure. It allows you to attack hips, you know, probably get them in foul trouble. Personally, that's something I like to do to our opponents. So, yeah, I think this is a great opportunity for us.
And if I could get a follow with Carly, as the most experienced player in terms of NCAA games played, what have you told your teammates about that, and how excited are you about possibly getting that first win?
I've just been reiterating how excited I am for this another opportunity to be in the NCAA tournament, and so that's kind of what I've passed along to my team, and how it's not easy to make it, and so you have to cherish every chance you get. But I can't put into words how excited I am. I'm always excited, no matter if it's an NCAA game, an ACC tournament game, just a regular season game. I'm just always excited to take the floor with this team, this group.
Okay, I think that does it for the student athletes. We can excuse you. You can go back to the locker room, and we'll the next 15 minutes will
See you
be
soon.
questions for the coach. A reminder, we will go to the virtual environment at the end of this interview and use the raised hand function if you have a question. Coach, we're open with you. Questions?
Coach, do you have any background coming this far west? And do you know Adia Barnes personally, anything like that?
My 12 years at Princeton, we did a lot in the LA area. You know, you basically LA, Chicago, Atlanta, some of the major cities. So I've got a lot of familiarity coming out here. We played in Cancun this past last season, or 2 seasons ago, whatever. They all kind of come together. That's how old I'm getting. You know, I think the time zone change and all of that, and the travel that we had, you know, these kids are young. It's really us that get tired, right? And so in Adia, we you know, we're both working moms. And so part of that kind of moms and coaching deal, and, you know, have great respect for the journey that we both want to be great at both. You know, and that takes a village, right? And it takes a village of women that are in it, and it takes a village outside of the lines as well. But that's kind of where our connection started, just knowing that that's who we are, and we're proud to do it, and there's an added level of respect given how we're doing it. Yeah?
To follow up on that,
Mhm.
last year when, you know, Adia was quote unquote brave and bold enough to talk about nursing, you know, she had just had her second child in nursing, and coming out saying to Holly Rowe, hey, you know, I had business to take care of before coming out on the court. How much did that resonate with you? And was there a part of you that just said, yeah?
Yeah, a lot. You know, I think it's not just coaching, but we have big microphones, right? So if I was in banking or if I was a lawyer, you know, my microphone wouldn't be as big, but it's the same challenge. You know, being a working parent, not just a working mom, but being a working parent, you go through that. The advice I always give is in that first year, you will think you're not good enough at either one. Not a good enough professional and not a good enough parent. And that's totally normal. And then what you end up learning is that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, right? I remember when we were that 30-0 year in 2015, I called Craig Robinson. I was coaching his daughter, Leslie, and he was the coach at the time at Oregon State. And I said, so I got a challenge on my hands. I have twins, you know, and they're 5 months old. So I feel like I have to include them because you know, it's a lot on one parent. And he said, are you asking me if you think I should have them at practice or traveling? And I said, kind of. And he said, I hope you do. As a dad who has a daughter that is going to someday be a working mom, I want her to watch every minute of what you do and how you can be great in both spheres. And that meant a lot because I thought, you know what, exactly right. Why am I trying to separate to show how dialed in I am? I now have multiple responsibilities that are very public, right? So I thought his advice, I've taken it and I've run. So my kids are here with me on this trip as well. And again, we think we might be here a week. Like, that's a long time to be without your family. So I'm grateful for Carolina to making that possible. And we do a good job of being present for the team, and my guys are a part of it. And that's just kind of how it goes. Mm-hmm.
What concerns you most about SFA?
You know, I think, first of all, it's a team that, you know, I'm usually I've been the mid-major coach that comes and you finally get a chance to play against the Power Five. No one will play you in the non-conference. So I'm familiar with their mindset, and that is we've won 28 games. We brought back most of what we had last year. We don't get a lot of these chances. So you're playing with that kind of, oh my gosh, we finally have a chance, right? We finally get to go take kind of a giant brand down. And there's an incredible amount of comfort and eagerness that brings. And so just our guys meeting that, the energy that they're about to see. You know, I think their pressure is something we're used to. I give our league a lot of credit. You know, Miami, Clemson, these are all teams that Syracuse have been high pressure teams, and we've been okay because we're sort of best over 94 feet anyway, and so that doesn't worry me as much. I think always the nerves of the environment. You know, the finality of your season is on the line, and so does that make you tight or not, right? And is that balance between trying to keep them loose with also owning the moment, as Carly said, like this matters, right? And so a little bit more about us that worries me, but with the great respect of that Stephen F. Austin wouldn't probably be able to schedule this game in the regular season, nor Texas or Texas A&M. So when they get a chance to play a Power Five, I lived it at Princeton for 12 years. I was like, now's the time. You know, and remember we beat Michigan. We played home and home with Michigan. We beat them by 30 each time. And after the game, Kim said, we're never playing you again. And I said, well, I understand. We'll just try to get somebody else in your league to do it, right? And so this is kind of Stephen F. Austin's chance to say, like, finally, we get a chance, and we know that. Mm-hmm.
So, coming out of the ACC, produced 2 number 1 seeds.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, coming from Princeton, where maybe you didn't have in your league as much competition, then you get met by the NCAA tournament, and it's like, whoa, right? I feel very different that we played NC State, Virginia Tech very recently, obviously Louisville very recently. Our whole league is so good, and so I feel gratitude to the ACC season because they've prepared this team for whether it's pressure, size, physicality, speed, shot making, guard play, et cetera. Very different than how I felt coming into this tournament when I was coming in from Princeton. So, I think our kids should feel comfortable in that they've had to play, even though we weren't successful against Virginia Tech and didn't play very well in that particular game. That's a really good team, arguably a top 15. I think they should be hosting, or us, or Notre Dame. One of the three of us should have been hosting, right? So those are all teams we've played and we're comfortable with. So that's a huge help. And I know that, just like it's a huge help for Stephen F. Austin that they were in this environment last year with the same roster. So we don't have that experience, but we have a huge help in that the teams we've played, the margin of error has been so small. Right, the teams that maybe SFA has played over the last 10 games, the margin of error might have been a little bit bigger. That's how it that's how it felt to me when I was coming from Princeton. So all of a sudden the possessions mattered more, and it was like, whoa, So yeah, I think I have a lot of gratitude to the ACC as a conference for preparing us in that way. Mm-hmm.
The question about the same starters. Would love your perspective on that in terms of cohesiveness and continuity and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think people operate well with clarity, right? And so when you know what's expected of you, there's an element of that's all you're trying to reach, as opposed to the sometimes you lack clarity that can make people a bad version of themselves, right? So there's incredible clarity in this group with what we need from them and what we need off the bench. Also, I give them a lot of credit. I basically told them at the start of the year, you cannot get COVID. Like, it can't happen. So whatever that means to you, that's what happens, So if you can have 0 friends while you're here, or you have to live with a bubble, I don't really care. No COVID. And so they've done a really good job staying away from that as best they could as well. But yeah, I feel like there's a comfort of sometimes you can get complacent. I give with the consistency. That's a very natural thing. But these guys are uber competitive. Uber. I mean, we're doing this bracket challenge just as a team and a staff, and day one just came out, and we're already how am I not first? Everybody, right? So I think the complacency that sometimes can happen with consistency is taken care of through competitiveness. So we get to really enjoy the clarity instead.
And the roles are clearly defined. Is that another component?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think there's the connectedness. I think is almost more so than their roles. Like it's not. Oh wait, sometimes we switch that. With Dan, I switched that. With Amy, I don't. It's like, no, we this is how we do it with everybody, right? And so yeah, there's a connectedness defensively of things they've seen together as a fivesome. And Eva really having a kid like Eva, I think she's underappreciated, not in our locker room. And the reason I say that is because she'd be starting at most teams. She was basically the CAA Player of the Year. We're from a very small town in New Hampshire, so that's kind of a different story. But, for her to be able to come off the bench and go in at any spot and be whatever we need, ball handler, scorer, facilitator, defender, a really good team has that. A sixth man that can be anything and doesn't need to be warmed up, can play against a team already warm. So she's just been kind of that huge piece as well to what we do. We didn't have her in the Notre Dame game, and I do think it cost us the game. Because of COVID, she broke the rules and got COVID. But yeah, I think the consistency, even for her, of what she needs it to be for us. It's not like sometimes she plays 10 and sometimes she plays 28. That lack of clarity can be hard for this age group. Very clear. We need you to be ready for 25 every night.
Other questions for Coach? Okay, we will go to the virtual environment and take another question from R.L. Bynum.
What's up, RL?
Hey, Courtney. You made some reference to there being travel difficulties. I don't know anything about that. Could you tell me about that and how spring break in sunny Arizona has been for the players?
Yeah, we went. We were supposed to leave. We were at the airport at. Gosh, all the days come together for me. We were at the airport, I think, at about 4:30 for a 5:30 flight. And these are giant children, giant toddlers as I call them. So they're on a bus, which they don't fit comfortably on. And then 2 hours in, so at 6:30, our director of ops called the NCAA and was like, what is happening? You told us you were kind of cleaning the plane. There was a windshield wiper issue, which I was willing to fly without a windshield wiper, but apparently it had to do with the motor, and who knows. So we went and got them a bite to eat instead. So we got everyone back we got everybody off their feet. Out of the bus, and then we came back, and then there was just, because they had sent a different plane, there was an additional delay. So we didn't get here until probably about 1 a.m. this time. Is that about right? Which is 4 a.m. our time that we're comfortable with. So thank God we were able to leave Wednesday and not Thursday. I'd be highly stressed if that was the case. But the gratitude and ease at which this group traveled with was not surprising, but was welcomed. But yeah, it was a long trip for especially the adults.
And then the spring break in Arizona, have they been able to enjoy that?
Yeah, I don't really care about how they feel about spring break in Arizona. I think our cheerleaders and band are having a good time. So I envision. But we got here Wednesday night, like I said, or Thursday morning, however you dictate that. Yesterday, we wanted them to move around a little bit, so we got some shots up here at Arizona, and then they watched some of the men's. We watched our men play, and then they went to some mall for a little bit. But yeah, these are hoopers. I don't think they're that interested in. They haven't asked where the pool is, or that's just not how they roll. They're here to play basketball.
And then any concern about rustiness, given that it's been so long since you played last? Do you think they're in a good rhythm coming into the game?
You and I will find out together, I think. But no, I think there's a team that plays with so much pressure doesn't let you kind of sink your teeth into the game in a good way. So we've got to kind of meet it head on. I think we've been on the court a bunch, but the timing and rhythm that a game requires, we might have to adjust a little bit to that, over in the first few minutes of the game. But it's a 40-minute game, and we just got to make sure that at the end of that 40 minutes, it's in our favor.
Thank you.
You got it.
Got time for just a couple more follow-up questions in the room, if anybody has any. If not, Coach, we appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
Congratulations on being here, and good luck tomorrow.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
I've got, let me also mention that a recording of the press conference will be available in the NCAA Digital Media Hub at www.ncaa.veritone.com. And transcripts are provided by ASAP and will be posted shortly. Thanks, everyone. Our next press conference is Arizona at 12:25.